Japanese motorcycle dealers are literally giving away their bikes that are not selling, and you have to act super fast if you want to get any of them. Let's dive into the 15 Japanese bikes dealers unable to sell right now. Number 1 is the best motorcycle deal you'll ever see. Starting our list with number 15 is the Honda CB650F. This is the motorcycle equivalent of being stuck in the middle seat on a cross-country flight next to a crying baby. This 649cc inline-4 naked bike produces 95 horsepower at 12,000 RPM and 47 pound-feet of torque at 8,500 RPM. On paper, those numbers look decent. In reality, Honda somehow managed to create a bike that's too sporty for touring enthusiasts and too tame for sport bike riders. It's like ordering a medium pizza when everyone wants either small or large. Weighing in at 456 pounds wet, the CB650F sits in that dreaded middle ground where nobody knows what it's supposed to be. The engine redlines at 12,000 RPM, but the power delivery is so linear it feels like watching paint dry in slow motion while listening to elevator music. And here's the shocker. Dealers are practically throwing these away for just $5,999. That's right, a bike that originally cost $8,999. Some dealers are even offering 0% financing for 60 months, which means you could own this thing for about $100 a month. That's less than most people spend on coffee. But there's a reason they're this desperate, and it's not because they suddenly developed a generous spirit. The riding position is awkward. The handlebars are too low for comfort, but not low enough for proper sport riding. It's like Honda designed it for people who couldn't make up their minds about what kind of riding they wanted to do, then decided to disappoint everyone equally. If you thought that price was a steal, buckle up because the next deal will make your jaw drop. Number 14 is the early Yamaha FZ07. The Yamaha FZ07 should have been a home run. This lightweight naked bike features a 689cc liquid-cooled parallel twin engine producing 75 horsepower at 9,000 RPM and 50 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM. At just 403 pounds wet, it has an excellent power-to-weight ratio that should make it a joy to ride. Instead, it's about as joyful as a root canal performed by a caffeinated squirrel. But early 2015 to 2016 models had one massive problem. They vibrated like a paint mixer having a seizure during an earthquake. The crossplane concept engine creates an uneven firing order that was supposed to give the bike character, but instead created handlebar buzz that could numb your hands faster than sitting on them for an hour. Brace yourself for this price. Dealers are practically giving these vibrating nightmares away for just $4,299. Originally priced at $6,990, and some dealers are so desperate they're throwing in $500 worth of accessories just to sweeten the deal. But trust me, no amount of free gear can fix those numb hands. It's like putting a bow tie on a tornado and calling it formal wear. Motorcycle journalists absolutely destroyed these early models in reviews. Cycle World called the vibration intrusive and annoying, while Motorcyclist magazine said it felt like riding a jackhammer that someone accidentally attached wheels to. The buzz was so bad that it would loosen bolts, rattle mirrors into uselessness, and probably register on seismic equipment in neighboring states. That price tag seems super expensive compared to what's coming next. You're going to want to cancel your weekend plans and head to a dealership. Greeting us in the number 13 spot is the Suzuki TU250X. The Suzuki TU250X is what happens when a manufacturer decides to build a motorcycle using 1980s technology in the 2020s. This 249cc air-cooled single-cylinder engine produces a whopping 20 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 15.4 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM. That's not a typo. 20 horsepower from a quarter-liter engine in 2024. You could probably get more power by strapping a leaf blower to a bicycle and calling it a day. Weighing 326 pounds wet, the TU250X features a 5-speed manual transmission, drum rear brake, and a carburetor that needs more attention than a needy ex-girlfriend who keeps texting you at 2 a.m. The bike has a 2.3-gallon fuel tank and gets around 78 miles per gallon, which sounds great until you realize you'll need every bit of that fuel efficiency because you'll be riding everywhere in first gear while being passed by determined joggers, and possibly some very fast turtles. Hold on to your wallet. This technological relic can be yours for the bargain price of just $2,999, down from its original $4,599. Dealers are slashing $1,600 off the price, and some are even offering free maintenance for the first year. But honestly, at this price, you're still overpaying for 1980s technology. It's like buying a brand new Walkman in the age of Spotify. Critics have been brutal about this bike's outdated technology. Motorcycle.com called it a relic from a bygone era, while Ride Apart said it was like bringing a musket to a gunfight, except the musket doesn't work half the time. Now, if you think that is crazy cheap, wait until you see this next price. It's so low, it's practically unbelievable. Introducing you to the Honda CTX 700N for number 12. Honda looked at the motorcycle market and thought, you know what riders really want? A bike that can't decide if it's a cruiser, a standard, or a scooter. So let's make it all three and disappoint everyone equally. Enter the CTX 700N, powered by a 670 CEEE liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, producing 47 horsepower at 6,250 RPM and 45 pound-feet of torque at 4,750 RPM. Weighing 430 pounds wet, the CTX 700N features Honda's automatic dual-clutch transmission, because apparently Honda thought riders were too lazy to shift gears themselves. The bike has a 3.4-gallon fuel tank and gets around 64 miles per gallon, which is impressive until you realize you're paying motorcycle prices for scooter performance. It's like ordering a steak and getting a veggie burger that costs twice as much. Get ready for this fire sale price. Dealers are practically begging you to take these for just $4,699. That's a massive $3,000 off the original $7,499. Some dealers are so desperate they're offering 0% financing and throwing in a free helmet. But even at this price, you're buying a bike that nobody wanted at any price. It's like getting a great deal on a sandwich that nobody wants to eat. The styling looks like someone took a Honda NC700 and hit it with an ugly stick repeatedly, then asked a committee of colorblind accountants to make it more exciting. The riding position puts your feet forward like a cruiser, but keeps you upright like a standard, resulting in ergonomics that please absolutely no one. It's like sitting in a chair designed by someone who's never seen a human being before. But wait, that price tag will sound expensive after you hear what dealers are doing to the next bike. They are basically giving them away. Entering our number 11 is the Kawasaki ZX300. Kawasaki decided to create an adventure bike for people who think a gravel driveway counts as off-road riding and consider driving through a Starbucks parking lot an extreme sport. The Versys X300 is powered by the same 296 CEIE liquid-cooled parallel twin engine from the Ninja 300, producing 39 horsepower at 11,500 RPM and 21 pound-feet of torque at 10,000 RPM. At 385 pounds wet with a 4.5-gallon fuel tank, the bike looks the part with its tall 32.1-inch seat height and adventure styling. But it's about as capable off-road as a shopping cart with a broken wheel. The ground clearance is a laughable 6.9 inches, which means you'll be scraping the skid plate on anything more challenging than a well-maintained fire road or a particularly aggressive speed bump. Adventure riding magazines have been particularly critical. Adventure Motorcycle called it an adventure bike for people who adventure to Starbucks, while Overland Journal said it was like bringing a butter knife to a machete fight, except the butter knife is also dull. Prepare to be shocked. This adventure bike can be yours for the rock-bottom price of just $3,899. Originally $5,399, dealers are cutting off the price and throwing in crash bars and skid plates for free. But those free accessories just highlight how inadequate this bike is for real adventure riding. It's like giving someone a life jacket for a kiddie pool. If that made you reach your wallet, the next price will have you sprinting for the nearest dealership. Now in your number 10 is the Honda CB300F. The Honda CB300F takes the perfectly good 286. CEE liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine from the CBR300R, which produces 31 horsepower at 8,250 RPM and 20 pound-feet of torque at 7,250 RPM, and wraps it in the most boring package imaginable. Weighing 348 pounds wet with a 3.4-gallon fuel tank, it should be a decent entry-level naked bike. Instead, it's about as exciting as watching grass grow in real time. The styling looks like it was designed by a committee of accountants who were specifically told to make it as bland as possible, while also ensuring it wouldn't offend anyone, including people who are easily offended by interesting design. The headlight looks like it was borrowed from a 1990s Honda Civic, and the overall design has all the visual excitement of a beige refrigerator in a beige kitchen. Here's the jaw-dropping price. Dealers are practically giving these away for just $2,599, down from the original $4,399. That's almost $1,800 off. Some dealers are even throwing in free gear or extended warranties just to get them off the floor. But there's a reason they're this cheap. Nobody wants them, not even people who collect boring things as a hobby. The suspension consists of a basic 37mm telescopic fork and a single rear shock with no adjustability whatsoever. The braking system features a single 296mm disc up front and a 220mm disc in the rear, which is adequate but uninspiring, like getting exactly what you ordered at a restaurant. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, if you thought that price has hit rock bottom, hold on to your helmet because this next deal is the best one of the video so far. At our number 9 is the Yamaha SR400. The Yamaha SR400 was supposed to appeal to riders who wanted that classic retro vibe and the authentic experience of motorcycle ownership from the Carter administration. Instead, it appeals to people who enjoy the authentic experience of kickstarting a motorcycle in 2024, which is about as popular as bringing back rotary phones and dial-up internet. This 399cc air-cooled single-cylinder engine produces 26 horsepower at 6,500 RPM and 23 pound-feet of torque at 6,000 RPM, and comes with all the modern conveniences of 1978. Weighing 348 pounds wet, the SR400 features a 6-speed manual transmission, a single 298mm front disc brake, a 130mm rear drum brake, and a carburetor that requires more ritual than a religious ceremony performed by caffeinated monks. Brace yourself for this clearance price. Dealers are practically paying you to take these at just $3,499, coming from the original price of $5,999. Some dealers are even offering free electric start conversions, which completely defeats the purpose of the bike's authentic character. But hey, at least you won't have to kickstart it anymore, which is probably for the best since most people's legs aren't strong enough for the workout this thing requires. The SR400 requires a specific starting procedure that would make a vintage aircraft pilot proud. Fuel petcock on, choke engaged, find compression stroke, decompress, kick through slowly, return to compression, then give it a firm kick while saying 3 Hail Marys and possibly sacrificing a small offering to the motorcycle gods. In cold weather, this process can take 15 minutes and leave you sweating like you just ran a marathon while wearing a winter coat. That price seems reasonable until you see what's next. Dealers are practically begging people to them away. Popping up in our number 8 is the Suzuki DR200S. The Suzuki DR200S has been in production since 1996, with virtually no updates, and boy does it show. This 199cc air-cooled single-cylinder engine produces 19 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 12.3 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM. Barely enough power to get excited about a gentle slope, let alone serious off-road riding or anything more challenging than a well-maintained parking lot. Weighing 278 pounds wet with a 3.3-gallon fuel tank, the DR200S is marketed as a dual sport bike, but is about as capable off-road as a street bike with knobby tires and delusions of grandeur. The ground clearance is 10.6 inches. which sounds decent until you realize the bike lacks the power to climb over obstacles anyway. The 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheels are the right size for off-road riding, but the engine simply doesn't have enough grunt to take advantage of them. It's like having racing tires on a golf cart. Hold on to your hat for this fire sale price. This trail bike can be yours for the bargain basement price of just $3,099, and they are throwing in free skid plates and handguards. But those accessories just remind you how inadequate this bike is for its intended purpose. It's like giving someone a helmet for riding a tricycle. Off-road magazines have been particularly critical of the DR200S. Dirt Bike called it a trail bike for people who are afraid of trails, while Trail Rider said it was like bringing a pocket knife to a chainsaw convention, except the pocket knife is also dull, and the blade keeps falling out. The bike simply doesn't have the power or suspension to handle serious off-road riding, making it perfect for people who want to look adventurous while never actually having an adventure. If you're impressed by that, wait until the next price. It is so low you'll think it's a typo. Taking the number 7 spot is the Honda CRF 250L. Honda took their CRF 250R motocross bike, made it street legal, and somehow managed to remove all the fun in the process. It's like taking a race car and turning it into a minivan, except the minivan is slower and less practical. The CRF 250L features a 249cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine producing 23 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 16 pound-feet of torque at 6,750 RPM. Barely enough to maintain highway speeds, let alone tackle serious off-road terrain or impress anyone at a stoplight. Weighing 320 pounds wet with a 2.0-gallon fuel tank, the CRF 250L looks like it should be capable with its 34.3-inch seat height and dual sport styling. But it's about as intimidating as a golden retriever puppy wearing a leather jacket. All the right accessories, but none of the attitude to back it up. Get ready for this shocking clearance price. Dealers are practically giving these away for just $3,199, down from the original $5,199. And some dealers are so desperate, they're throwing in free accessories like skid plates and handguards, which just highlights how unprepared this bike is for real adventure riding. It's like giving someone training wheels for a bicycle they're afraid to ride. The CRF 250L redlines at 10,500 RPM, but you'll need to keep it there constantly just to maintain momentum, making every ride sound like you're torturing a very small, very angry lawnmower. Highway riding is an exercise in patience as the bike struggles to reach 70 miles per hour, and passing requires more planning than a military operation and possibly divine intervention. But that deal will sound expensive compared to what's coming next. The price will make you question if this is reality. Rattling its way into our number 6 spot is the Kawasaki Z125 Pro. The Kawasaki Z125 Pro is what happens when you take a 125cc single-cylinder engine, producing 9.7 horsepower at 7,700 RPM and 7.9 lb-ft of torque at 6,250 RPM, and try to convince people it's a real motorcycle. Weighing 224 pounds wet with a 2.0-gallon fuel tank, this bike produces less power than some electric bicycles and possibly some particularly enthusiastic hamsters on wheels. The Z125 Pro features a 4-speed manual transmission, which sounds sporty until you realize you'll be shifting constantly just to maintain 35 miles per hour and still getting passed by people on actual bicycles who are having a leisurely ride. The bike redlines at 10,500 RPM. But even at redline, you could probably get more acceleration by running alongside it and pushing, and you'd probably arrive at your destination faster too. Prepare to be stunned by this giveaway price. Dealers are practically begging you to take these for just $2,399, from the original price of $3,399. Some desperate dealers are even offering 0% financing for 60 months, which means you could be making payments on this thing longer than most people keep their smartphones, and definitely longer than it would take to walk to most destinations. The Z125 Pro looks aggressive with its naked bike styling, angular headlight, and sharp bodywork, but it's about as threatening as a kitten wearing a leather jacket and trying to look tough. The riding position is sporty with rear-set foot pegs and a low handlebar, which would be great if the bike had enough power to justify the aggressive ergonomics. It's like wearing racing gear to ride a shopping cart. Now, if you think that a $2,000 bike is cheap, the next deal is so cheap that dealers are probably losing money rather than gaining money. Introducing our fifth placer is the Yamaha XT250. The Yamaha XT250 is proof that some things should stay in the past, like mullets, disco, and the idea that carburetors are acceptable technology in the 21st century. This 249 CEE air-cooled single-cylinder engine produces 20 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 15.4 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM, and comes with technology that was cutting-edge when Reagan was president, and people thought the internet was just a fad. Weighing 291 pounds wet with a 2.6-gallon fuel tank, the XT250 features a 5-speed manual transmission, electric start thankfully, and a carburetor that requires more attention than a vintage sports car owned by someone who doesn't know how to work on vintage sports cars. The XT250 is marketed as a dual sport bike, but it's more like a street bike that occasionally dreams about dirt roads and wakes up disappointed. Critics have been particularly harsh about the XT250's outdated technology. Dirt Rider called it a fossil that refuses to evolve, while Motorcycle.com said it was like trying to sell a black and white TV in the age of 4K streaming, except the TV only gets 2 channels, and one of them is static. The carburetor floods easily, the drum rear brake provides minimal stopping power, and the air-cooled engine overheats in stop-and-go traffic, like a laptop running too many programs at once. Here's the mind-blowing clearance price. This technological fossil can be yours for just $3,199. Originally priced at $5,199, dealers are throwing in free maintenance for the first year because they know you'll need it, and probably a good mechanic's phone number too. Some dealers are even offering trade-in guarantees, promising to take the bike back at a predetermined value after 1 year, which is basically them admitting they expect you to want to get rid of it. That price tag will seem like a fortune after you see what's next. This deal is so mind-blowing, you start to question it. Sitting at our fourth place is the over-accessorized Honda Grom. Wait, hear me out. The Honda Grom isn't a bad bike. It's actually pretty awesome for what it is. Like a really good pizza that someone decided to cover with pineapple and anchovies, just to see what would happen. This 125cc ECE liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine produces 9.7 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 8.0 pound-feet of torque at 5,250 RPM and weighs just 229 pounds wet with a 1.6-gallon fuel tank. The problem isn't the bike itself. It's that Honda can't keep up with demand for stock models, so dealers are sitting on overpriced, modified versions that nobody wants to pay premium prices for. These dealer-modified Groms come loaded with $3,000 to $4,000 worth of accessories on a bike that originally costs $3,399. It's like buying a hamburger and having someone charge you extra for gold leaf on the bun. Brace yourself for this outrageous pricing. Dealers are trying to sell these over-accessorized Groms for $7,299. That's more than double the price of a stock Grom. We're talking about LED light kits, carbon fiber everything, racing exhausts, performance air filters, ECU flashes, and custom paint jobs on a bike that still only makes 9.7 horsepower. It's like putting a $5,000 stereo system in a $2,000 car and expecting people to think it's a good deal. But here's where it gets interesting. These same dealers are now desperately trying to move these modified Groms for just $4,999, essentially giving away thousands of dollars in accessories and admitting that maybe, just maybe, they got a little carried away with the bedazzling. Some are even breaking up the packages and selling them at near-stock prices just to get them off the floor. Motorcycle journalists love the stock Grom. Cycle World called it the most fun you can have at 35 miles per hour, while motorcyclists said it was proof that horsepower isn't everything, and sometimes less is more, unless you're trying to merge onto a highway, in which case you're probably going to die. If the price of almost $5,000 for an over-accessorized Grom shocked you, wait until you see how desperate dealers are with the next bike. Mixing itself into our top 3 is the Suzuki Boulevard S40. The Suzuki Boulevard S40 is what happens when you take a 652 CEE air-cooled single-cylinder engine producing 34 horsepower at 6,400 RPM and 35 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 RPM and try to make it into a cruiser. Weighing 381 pounds wet with a 3.6-gallon fuel tank, this bike violates every principle of what makes a good cruiser and probably makes actual cruiser riders cry a little inside. Single-cylinder cruisers are like diet soda. They're trying to be something they're not, and everyone can tell the difference. Cruisers are supposed to be smooth, torquey, and comfortable for long rides, like riding on a cloud made of leather and chrome. The S40 is none of those things. The single-cylinder engine vibrates more than a massage chair set to earthquake mode and sounds like an angry lawnmower having an existential crisis about its life choices. The riding position puts you in a classic cruiser stance with forward controls and a laid-back seating position. But the engine's vibration makes long rides an endurance test that would make Navy SEALs tap out after 30 minutes. Get ready for this fire sale price. Dealers are practically giving these vibrating nightmares away for just $3,299. Originally priced at $5,799, that's a massive $2,500 discount. Some dealers are so desperate they're throwing in windshields, saddlebags, and other touring accessories for free. Items that just highlight how unsuitable this bike is for actual touring, like giving someone a snorkel for swimming in a kiddie pool. Cruiser magazines have been particularly critical of the S40's fundamental design flaws. Cruising World called it a cruiser that makes you want to stop cruising, while American Iron said it was like trying to make a smoothie with a jackhammer. Technically possible, but nobody's going to enjoy the results. If you thought that price was a fire sale price, the next deal will make you wonder if dealers have completely lost their minds. Calling in our second place is the over-accessorized Kawasaki Ninja 400. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 is actually an excellent motorcycle, like finding a perfect diamond and then deciding to bedazzle it with rhinestones and glitter. This 399 CEE liquid-cooled parallel twin engine produces 45 horsepower at 9,600 RPM and 28 pound-feet of torque at 8,000 RPM, weighs just 366 pounds wet, and features a 3.7-gallon fuel tank. It's perfectly engineered for new riders with its manageable power, excellent handling, and forgiving nature. The problem isn't the bike. It's dealers who think they can charge premium prices for a beginner bike loaded with accessories that new riders don't need or want, like selling someone a tuxedo for their first day at McDonald's. These dealer specials come with 2,000 TP $3,000 worth of add-ons: frame sliders, tank pads, racing exhausts, fender eliminators, LED lighting kits, and custom graphics packages that make the bike look like it was decorated by a teenager with unlimited access to a motorcycle parts catalog. Hold on to your wallet for this shocking price. Dealers are trying to sell these over-accessorized Ninja 400s for $8,999. But here's the kicker. These same dealers are now desperately trying to move them for just $5,999, essentially admitting that all those accessories add no real value, and they may have gotten a little carried away with the whole "more is better" philosophy. Motorcycle reviewers consistently praise the stock Ninja 400. Cycle World called it the perfect first sport bike, while motorcyclists said it was proof that you don't need 200 horsepower to have fun, and also proof that sometimes manufacturers actually know what they're doing. The bike handles beautifully, gets around 65 miles per gallon, and provides an excellent introduction to sport bike riding without trying to kill you in the process. That deal seems like pocket change. Compared to our number one, the price is absolutely legendary. Taking the first place in our list is the Honda Gold Wing Tour. The Gold Wing Tour is powered by a 1,833 cc liquid-cooled horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine, producing 125 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 125 pound-feet of torque at 4,500 RPM. Weighing 787 pounds wet with a 5.5-gallon fuel tank, this is engineering excellence on two wheels, like someone took a luxury car and decided to remove two wheels and most of the weather protection, but keep all the expensive parts. The bike features Honda's DCT automatic transmission, electronically adjustable suspension, heated seats and grips, GPS navigation, Apple CarPlay, a premium audio system, and more electronics than a space shuttle or your average teenager's bedroom. The aerodynamics are so advanced that the bike is more stable at 80 miles per hour than most cars, and probably more comfortable too, assuming you don't mind the whole no roof situation. Here's the shocking truth. The Honda Goldwing Tour is sitting in dealer showrooms, not because it's a bad motorcycle, but because it's priced like a luxury car while depreciating like a motorcycle, which is basically the worst of both worlds, wrapped up in a very expensive package. Originally priced at a jaw-dropping $28,999, you could buy a decent car instead. And that's exactly what most people are doing, because cars have things like roofs and air conditioning and the ability to carry more than one person without requiring a second mortgage. But wait, it gets even more shocking. Dealers are now practically giving these engineering marvels away for just $23,999. That's a massive $5,000 off. And some dealers are offering even deeper discounts, extended warranties, and financing deals that would make a car dealer jealous and possibly question their life choices. One dealer in Texas is advertising a Goldwing Tour for $21,999. That's $7,000 off the original price, which is more money than some people spend on their entire first car. But it's also completely out of reach for most riders. Even at these fire sale prices, the Goldwing Tour costs more than many new cars. And unlike cars, motorcycles depreciate rapidly and can't be used when it's raining, snowing, or when your spouse needs to go grocery shopping. A 3-year-old Goldwing might be worth $18,000 to $20,000, representing a more than $10,000 loss for the original owner, which is enough money to buy a very nice used car or take a really good vacation. Want me to watch more kinds of these videos? Click the video on your screen now. Thanks for watching.